and stuff like that. Okay. To the next page, hang in there, pause if you need to. I wanted to show you piecewise functions are taking two functions you know the equation of, like 2/3 x minus 1 is that left-hand function, and then there's negative x plus 3 is the right-hand function. But we consider the whole thing, both of them is considered f of x, the piecewise function in question. So what we do for a piecewise function is that you have to be more descriptive, because you can say to somebody, hey, my function is 2/3 x minus 1 and x plus 3. And they go, which one? What do you mean? So you actually say, well, those are the two, but you have to specify when they occur on the graph. And if you think of the x-axis as like a timer for as you go left to right, when do you see the graph of 2/3 x minus 1? Well, whenever x is less than 0, of course. That's when I see it. When do you see the graph of x plus 3? Exactly. Do you see them at the same time? No. I see it when x is greater than or equal to 0. You guys notice the dot? So at x plus 3, there's a solid dot. Okay. That's the idea, is that the what and the when, you have to have those two parts. There's no graphing of the when part. It's just helping you decide when do I see which graph. They're chopped up pieces of graphs that usually we draw the whole thing of. Now down below, we can do that here as well algebraically. If I don't even graph it, then what that means is when somebody says f of negative 4 and f of x happens to be a piecewise function that you see above there, you think, do I put negative 4 in all of them? No. You never put an input. So if you have a piecewise function, your input never goes into all of them. It has to specifically go in the right part, because like with the graph of it, negative 4 would only land on one of those three graphs in that particular piecewise function. Which one is it? Well, that's where the when, the domain of those x's over there, helps you decide where to put it. Well, negative 4, if you look at it, falls into that first category when x is smaller than negative 2. So that's the f of x piece we're going to put it into. Not the other ones. Don't put it anywhere else. Just use that one. So the next one, and you get out 0. The next one is input 6 into the function. Well, that fits that last category, x greater than 3, so you use that radical portion of the function, get a value, in this case 3. The negative 2, can you see it? This one's, now, you can reuse all of them over and over again. It's not a one-time deal, but it fits the top one. So negative 2 is that equal sign, and the less than or equal means we're going to plug it into the top 2 plus 8 portion of that function. You get 4. The last one is 0 falls into the middle band from negative 2 to 3, so we're going to use that x squared minus 3 portion of the function. So you have to be really careful. You're only going to use one portion of the function when you have an input into a piecewise, and then you get the output. It's like the t-shirt problem. Hey, I want to order 25 shirts. What price do I pay? You don't pay 3 different prices. You just want to know which height do I go to. In this case, instead of having a graph, we have an equation that'll give you the right result. You're welcome to graph them if you like. Hey, speaking of, let's do that. So I think the next problems that we have, if we flip it over a little bit, actually there's one more down below that you get to try. Should we try that last one? Sorry, I left that off. If we try that next piecewise function, different functions, notice that. We're putting 8 in. Find out where it goes. Do you see it? Do you see it? Yeah, it goes to the bottom one, things that are bigger than 5. All right, try the next one. 0. Where's that one go? Where does it fit? Are you seeing it? Are you seeing it? Top one. Yeah, where x is less than 1. Okay, and then finally 4 is tricky. It's somewhere in there. It's somewhere in the middle band. Got it. Now this one's goofy because f of 4 falls in the middle, and you get out 3. And it sounds funny because I can't even substitute 4 in there. And that's fine. Remember, that's just a horizontal line, y equals 3. So when you put 4 in, the height output is going to be 3. Anything you put in between 1 and 5, any number of inputs going to give you an output of 3. And that's okay. So, and then the last one, hey, 5, where does that fall? Greater than or equal to 5 includes 5, so we're going to put it in the lower of the 3 piecewise functions. And so 5 minus 2, 4 it is. Last, and certainly not least, we want to do the graphical version. So this is where you can take and use the graph to plug things in, like 2 into that left-hand function. I plotted the point there in red. This is all color-coded. It's negative 1. What about at negative 3? Now this is tricky because there's 2 pieces of the graph at negative 3. The whole, it means it doesn't exist at that point. So you have to go to, you always find the solid dots. When you're substituting into a piecewise function or anything that jumps around, you're looking for solid dots. So 2.5 is the solid dot. You don't want to put 1 because that's a whole. Then you got -1 does not exist. I put that in there because notice that at -1 there's 2 holes. There's no graph. It's like it doesn't exist there. See, I don't know. And f of -4 is way over to the left. Go up, hey, there's a graph there. And then you just find the height that is associated with that. So it's 2, and I marked it in orange. All right, again, have pauses as you need. I know it's fast. I know this goes really quick for you guys. My ninja writing is it just, if you want to grab a couple cups of coffee and catch up with me in your ninja writing, you're welcome to. The Keurig just might need some water. So the next 2 are pretty nice on the next piecewise function. F of 0 is 2, I marked it, and -4 is 1. Those are nice, easy places to plot. The questionable ones get like f of -1. You're thinking, man, is it 1 or is it -2? Remember, you're looking for solid dots. Holes are places where the graph doesn't exist. And then finally, f of 3 is 3. Awesome. And just for fun, I'm approximating what the equations of those might be. Let's say you're doing algebraically. So each of these has its own little equation. I'm kind of approximating, like the radical graph is shifted left 1, up 1. So I put little transformations on my square root graph in there. You don't need to pick that up just yet, but I wanted to jog your memory and say, oh yeah, we can move our usual square root graph by just adding values. +1 to the x and +1 to the outside of the function makes it go left 1 and up 1. We got the bottom one, there's just y equals -2. So if we were to write this function out, and it would have those 3 components to it, and then we'd have to put the when domains that are associated with it. Okay? I think that's the end of my notes on here. Hope you guys are having a good day. I know you have questions on the practice problems, and I've seen some little errors here and there, and MyMathLab is kicking out some new issues for you guys. Some of you need codes. So if you need a code to get on MyMathLab, you can do it here in class. I have set these little red MyMathLab books. They're out on the desk, and they're in like a wrapped sealed bag. Should be 2. One code should work for 2 people. So if you happen to come up, share with somebody else. You're welcome to snap a picture of the code, but if you know 2 of you are going to use it wisely, and just grab one of those access kits, snap a picture, and do it at home. That'd be awesome. If you don't want to deal with that at all, I took some home with me, new ones, because I ran out last night, and you can just email me directly. I'll take a picture and send you a code that works. So you decide how you want to take that on. Other than that, do the best you can. Keys are posted in our online Drive folder. These notes are on our Drive folder, and all kinds of good stuff is out there. And make sure you look at, there's 3 folders currently in our pre-calculus drive, so make sure you explore all 3 of them. The one that says MyMathLab on it is because every time I put an assignment up on Google Classroom, it makes a folder for it. You don't have to put anything in there. It's just if I create an assignment, it makes a folder. It should be empty at this point. Okay? See you all very soon.